Good afternoon, students. And so now we are practically done with this class, halfway done with this class. Can you imagine that? We finished week 4 and now we're just about to the second half of the class. It went so fast. So in this video, I'm going to go over the weekly wrap-ups of the first 4 weeks of this class to go over and summarize what we have learned so far. And in the last 4 weeks, we've done so much. We've done so much work, and we've learned so much about writing in this class. Just know that if you're having trouble with your assignments, like you don't know how to do it or you got a low grade, you can always email me, and then we can set up a one-on-one Google Meet. Remember that this Friday, I'm going to have another Google Meet at 7 p.m. and look out for the Google Meet meeting link in your announcements. So I will, once again, it's going to be the same Google link we had last time, and so I will put the link in your email. And I look forward to meeting you at 7 p.m. Pacific, my time. And if you have any questions about your assignments, if you just want to chill, if you want to ask questions about writing from other classes, if you want, you can ask questions about APA if there's something you're not sure about, because the Google Meets are designed to be more like a question and answer session where you can just talk about or ask what it is you're not certain about. Or if you got a low grade on your quiz or a low grade on a writing assignment, or you're not sure how to do a thesis statement or any of the above, we can discuss all of that at our Google Meet this Friday at 7 p.m. Now, for this video, I'm going to go over the weekly wrap-up of week 1 through 4, for we are halfway done with this class. And it's like being over the hump in a week, like past Wednesday or something. So we are past Wednesday in this class. And so you're almost done, and only 4 more weeks left. So now I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you the weekly wrap-ups for the first 4 weeks of this class. Okay, so here we go. And so in this class, in week 1, we introduced ourselves and we learned the parts of an essay and we learned the parts of a paragraph. We learned that the parts of a paragraph include a topic sentence, which states the main idea of the paragraph, the supporting sentences, which describe the main idea, and the concluding sentence, which transitions to the next paragraph. And we had a lot of fun color coding in week 4 in the practice forum 1. And then we wrote our illustrative essay. So an illustrative essay is simply an expository essay where you inform the reader of facts. So an illustrative essay is the same as a descriptive essay, example essay, where you give examples to back up. It's the most basic kind of essay where you simply give the facts to the reader and you're informing the reader of your topic. So that's why the illustrative essay illustrates a main point. And so for your assignment, you need to write about a small problem that you can solve. And so let's go over the essay structure. So first, in your introduction has 3 parts: hook, 5 background sentences, and then your thesis statement. Your thesis statement is your main idea sentence. And so in your thesis statement, you have a topic, you have opinion, and you have 3 reasons. Or in this case, since we're doing a since we're doing an illustrative essay where we are writing about a problem, it's more like solution 1, solution 2, solution 3, or tip 1, tip 2, tip 3. So in your 5 background sentences, you're going to state your problem, whatever it is. For example, the example that I gave was many people walk their dogs in my neighborhood, but they forget to pick up after themselves, the feces. Then they leave the feces on the sidewalk where old people can walk and slip on it, or other people who are not looking at their phones would then get feces all over their shoes, and then when they get inside their houses, then they would have feces inside the house. And dog feces transmit a lot of diseases. So it is important that people remember to pick up after themselves. And so how do you get people to pick up after themselves? And so that's the, then you have your thesis. So in the first 5 sentences, basically you state the problem. Whatever the problem is, whatever problem you decide you're going to write about, in the first 5 sentences, you're going to write about that problem. Then in your thesis statement, you write 3 tips to solve this problem are solution 1, solution 2, solution 3. And then those 3 solutions will become the body of your paragraph. The body paragraphs of your essay. So basically you're writing a problem solution paper. So if you want to Google it, so you can Google problem solution paper. And a problem solution paper is used in research proposals, used in business proposals, where people state the problem and then they state the solution. Hence the name problem solution paper. And so it's kind of like a proposal, yes. And so you're proposing the problem and you're stating your solution. And so here, when you have a thesis statement, as I said before, you needed a topic, an opinion, and then you state your 3 solutions. And then solution 1, solution 2, solution 3. So solution 1 will be 1 body paragraph of 5 to 7 sentences. Solution 2 will be another body paragraph of 5 to 7 sentences. Solution 3 will be another body paragraph of 5 to 7 sentences. And then in your conclusion, so remember to put your thesis statement as the last sentence of the first paragraph and then the first sentence of the last paragraph. And so the parts of your conclusion, okay, your conclusion, you will restate the thesis as the first sentence. Then you're going to write 5 summary sentences in which what takeaway lessons should the reader get from your paper. And so here, if I were to restate the thesis, 3 tips to get people to pick up dog feces after themselves. Solution 1, solution 2, solution 3. Then in your 5 summary sentences, you write a little bit about solution 1, a little bit about solution 2, a little bit about solution 3, and then you summarize with 1 last sentence of 1 life lesson you want the readers to take away. 1 major takeaway lesson that you want the reader to take away from your essay, to give your essay closure. And so also remember to download your syllabus in this first week. Go to the announcements because I will post the latest news, samples of papers, Google Meet dates, and more. I will give 3 Google Meets during this class period. And so during that time, as I discussed earlier, we can, kind of let down our hair and be ourselves a little bit, and you can introduce yourself and then tell me more about what it is you want out of this class. And so during a week, and also in the forums, I've posted my quiz notes, and what's new is I posted the quiz videos. Now the quiz videos are based on the quiz notes. So if you're going to take the week 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I believe you have 5, 6, 7, and 8 quizzes left. So watch the quiz videos before you take the quizzes. And then this will make the quiz really easy. And then the quiz videos are exactly the same thing as the quiz notes. Okay, because I based the video off the quiz notes. And then I based the quiz notes off the quizzes. And don't forget to also watch the video that's inside the quiz first. Then go over my quiz notes and then watch my quiz videos. So for this week, week 1, you need to write an outline for your illustrative essay. In week 2, we learned the difference between formal and informal English. We learned that when we write to our family and friends, we use second and first person case, which is informal English. I made a lot of videos this time about that, because a lot of students, when they wrote their papers, still wrote in first and second person case. So you can take a look at the videos, which I wrote corrected paper in your announcements. And then if you see your name there, you can look it up and see how I corrected your paper, where instead of using first and second person case, I switched it to third person case so that your papers sound more professional. And so first and second person case. First person case is when you talk about yourself, I, me, my, us. And second person case is when you're talking to somebody else, you, your. So that's very conversational. If I'm going to talk about myself to somebody, then obviously I'm going to use first and second person case. And then we use third person case when we want to write a report, when we want to use formal English, and when we're writing to our teacher or our boss. And so especially for academic research papers, we use third person case because we want to report to the writer, we want to report to the reader what we've researched. We want to report to the reader what the research is about or what the topic is about. So that's why we use third person case for a more professional tone. And try to avoid saying things like, I believe that, or in my opinion, I think that. Or, now, in this essay, I want you to think this, or you should do this, you should do that. So you need to get rid of all of your first and second person case in your essays in order to have just third person case, he, she, they, for a more professional tone. So here I talk about at the workplace, when we write letters, we write formal English, while at home we use informal English. Or for some of you, you speak your native language. For me, when I was growing up, at home I would speak Chinese, and then at school and at work I would speak English. And so, and then in the week 2 forum, we learned about the importance of community. So you can always go to the student corner and you can meet other students of the same major. And these students are also taking ENGL 101, but in different sections, so that you guys can then set up a study meet in Google Meet, and you can all study together and have study sessions. That was actually the whole purpose of the student corner, was for students to socialize, get together, kind of like a student cafeteria, if you will. Just like the Course Cafe forum was meant to be like a cafeteria. So, and so then in the week 2 forum, we talked about the importance of community. During week 3, we learned about occasion, purpose, and tone. And as I repeated myself in each video, I said something like, when we write to our friends and family, so we learned about when we write our papers, we have to take into account our audience, occasion, purpose, and tone. So if our audience, like they're a bunch of experts, you don't have to explain all of the technical details. And if the audience is a bunch of beginners, you have to stop and explain so that you don't overwhelm the readers. So it's always good to know ahead of time when you're doing an oral presentation what kind of audience you're going to have. Also, when you write your paper, you take into account your audience, because when you take into account your audience, then you know whether or not to use first and second person case or to use third person case. Actually, when we are trying to sell a product in sales and in business, it's okay to use first and second person case. If you're making an oral presentation with PowerPoint, it's okay to use first and second person case, because you want to relate to the reader. You want the reader to relate back to you so that the reader would buy your product, or you keep the reader interested in your lecture. Just like with this lecture, I'm using a lot of you and I and stuff like that. And so I'm using a lot of first and second person case because I'm talking to you. And so that's the difference between when you're trying to sell someone a product, or if that's why you got to take into account purpose of your writing. If your purpose is to sell a product, or your purpose is to give a lecture to teach someone step by step how to do something, then we use first and second person case. So that's why we have to take into account occasion and purpose. But, and also audience. So audience, purpose, occasion, then that legislates what tone we're going to use. And then when we write our academic papers for this school, your audience is going to be primarily your teacher. So therefore, you should use third person case. Now, most people it's similar to when you write a case study about your patient. If you're a nurse, you're writing about your patients. And then if you're a policeman, or a law enforcement, you're writing about, an incident report, like what happened on the scene. And if you're a teacher, you're thinking about, what's going to happen? I'd be writing about my students. So I would say, Jane Smith is doing very well in class, but Roger Smith is failing the class. That's third person case. As soon as I'm talking about somebody else, and I'm not talking about myself, that's third person case. And it makes your paper sound more credible and believable if you use third person case, because then it doesn't sound like your personal opinion, you see. Then you back up your opinion with credible APA sources. Now I'm going to cover APA in the second half of this class. So in order to, so I'm repeating myself a lot. And so when we write to our friends and family, we use first and second person case because that's conversational English. And then when we write our paper to our teacher, we use third person case. So here's some examples. And I guess I'm spending so much time on first, second, and third person case because that's what I've been grading for the past week. Okay, so instead of saying, I want to grow my own garden, you want to grow your own garden, we want to grow our own garden, you want to say, John Smith wants to grow his own garden, or Americans need to grow their own garden. One needs to grow their own garden. So you're talking about somebody else, and you're reporting what you've researched to the reader. This is why in a research paper, since you're reporting what you researched to the reader, that's why we use third person case, if that makes any sense. And also you should start thinking about a topic for your persuasive essay. So in week 3, you should be in part 2 of your illustrative essay. In other words, you should be writing up your rough draft. And you would take the template that I gave you in week 1, the feedback, and you could use that template for your part 2 illustrative essay, which is due in week 3. Some of you have still not done your illustrative essay. All you have to do is just follow the template that I gave you. I gave you a sample thesis statement and then sample body paragraphs that match the thesis statement. You can tweak it all you want. That's just, a template is just a sample of what I'm looking for. And then you tweak it based on what you research, based on how it fits into your life. And it doesn't have to be exactly the way I wrote it. And also I used a lot of identicals looking sentences. You can tweak that too so that it doesn't sound so automated, okay? So you can work it, but I gave you the template in my feedback so you have an idea, an overall idea of what it is I'm looking for. And so make sure when you revise your paper that you take out all of the first and second person case. So it doesn't sound like you're talking to me on the phone or something, but you're writing a professional, formal paper. So, and then also start thinking about your persuasive essay, because in week 4, you're going to be writing an outline for essay 2. Yeah, we're transitioning to essay 2 because essay 1, the writing process is week 1, week 3, week 5. That's the first essay. And then for the second essay, it's week 4, week 6, week 8. That's the second essay. 4, 6, 8, 1, 3, 5. So you can remember it as essay 1, all the odd numbers, essay 2, all the even numbers. It's easier to remember that way. It's written, it's the writing process, because the writing process is pre-writing, writing, rewriting. And so then you have week 1 is the pre-writing, and then week 3 is the writing, and then week 5 is your final draft, rewriting. So that's essay 1, and then for essay 2, it's persuasive essay part 1, that's pre-writing, and then that's in week 4. Week 6 is going to be the writing, the rough draft, and week 8, the final week of this class, and you're done. It will be your persuasive essay final version. So start thinking about your persuasive essay topic, and you can find some persuasive essay topics at procon.org. It's a great website for that sort of thing. So this week, and so now we're into week 4. So week 4, we talked about pre-writing as part of the writing process. So remember, the writing process consists of 3 parts: pre-writing, writing, and rewriting. And in pre-writing, which is what everybody tells me is their most favorite part of the essay process, of the writing process, because when you do pre-writing, you're trying to come up with a topic, you're trying to think about what am I going to write about. And in this particular stage, you can do free writing, listing, or you can do those bubble maps, where you put the main idea in the center circle, and then you put the reasons in the outer circle. Because that way you can visualize your paper, which will then help you write your outline. In other words, you know which ideas are important, which ideas are not important, and that sort of thing. And which idea is going to serve as your thesis statement. So that's pre-writing. Then writing means that you're going to put all of your outline into a 5-paragraph format, where you're going to have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion paragraph. So you have to make sure that when you write in your writing in the second stage, you have to have 5 paragraphs. You have to make sure you double space your paper, you indent the 5 lines, the first line of every paragraph, and you got to make sure that each of the topic sentences match the thesis statement so that you have essay coherence. And one last thing that you learned in week 3 about purpose, occasion, is to get rid of all of your first and second person case. I know it's hard. That's really hard, because when we talk, see, even when I'm giving a presentation, when we talk, I will use first and second. So if I'm teaching something, it's okay to use first and second person case. But if I'm going to write about what I taught in this class for a paper, for a professional teaching journal, I would say, Professor H teaches English 101. Her students, Jane Smith, all love writing. They are learning the narrative essay, the illustrative essay, comparison contrast essay, and the persuasive essay. The students in this class range in age from, 25 to 75, that sort of thing. You notice how I'm writing this report, kind of like a report of who are the students in my class, what are the demographics. So that's the reason why we use third person case, because we're writing about like a case study. That's why a research paper is kind of like one long case study, and that's why, or an incident report or patient report, however you want to look at it, or even a book report. So we always use third person case. And then so that's rewriting. And in rewriting, you have two different parts. You have revision and proofreading and editing. And we're going to go over that, I believe it's week 7, that we're going to go over revision techniques. So in rewriting is when we revise and correct our essay. After we write our rough draft, we make sure that we have a correct essay structure. Then we proofread to make sure there's no grammar, APA, or punctuation mistakes. It's at this stage you can go to tutor.com. If you're not able to get a tutor, I'm not going to take off points, because it's not your fault that your tutor didn't show up. Okay, so just hand in whatever you have. I've said that many times also, because students get confused. But what if I lose my 10 points for tutor.com? And I said, don't worry about it. Just hand in whatever you have, and then I will give you feedback, and then you just use my feedback as a roadmap to have a better draft. Because that's the whole purpose of the writing process, is in order to have a better and better and better draft. So do not hand in the same paper over and over again, because you will lose points. Instead, you incorporate the feedback that I give you into each draft, and you will notice that your paper will get better and better and better. Okay, that's the whole purpose of it being a process, writing process. And so in your essays, you're all doing much better at essay structure. You all seem to understand what a thesis statement is, what a topic sentence is, matching body paragraphs. But I'm still seeing errors in first and second person case. So you need to revise your paper and get rid of all the first and second person case so that you can stick to third person case for a more professional tone. So when you write a persuasive essay, you want to persuade the reader of your point of view. So that means that you have to take a side, take a position. So you don't say, I'm going to cover the pros and cons of topic X. Instead, you would say, topic X should be implemented, or topic X should not be implemented. And so you take a position, and then you use your body paragraphs to defend that position. So that's going to be the heart of your persuasive essay. I also created a persuasive essay video, which is like about an hour long, that you can watch, in which I go over every little thing about what is a persuasive essay, because the persuasive argumentative essay is like the most common essay you will be writing in college. Because when we want to persuade someone of something, then we want to get our way. And when we write a successful argument, you need to have ethos, pathos, logos. I forgot to add that into the notes. Ethos means appeal to credibility, means that the article is written by an expert. It's not written by some politician or something, and it's written by someone believable. And then pathos means that you made good use of descriptive language in other words, appeal to emotion, and you make good use of descriptive language to keep the reader hooked to your essay. And then logos, appeal to logic. That means that you have good essay structure and you have good matching thesis statement. So if you have all three appeals, ethos, pathos, and logos, then you have a valid argument that people can believe. If you're missing any of those appeals, then you end up with a fallacy. And I usually teach this sort of thing in my critical thinking class or research methods class, where I go over what constitutes a good argument and what constitutes a fallacy. For a fallacy is an illogical argument. So I forgot to put all that into the notes. But that's in your video. And I also posted an ethos, pathos, and logos video in your announcements. So when you watch any newscast, always be aware of, does this newscast have ethos, appeal to credibility, in other words, experts, and logos, logic, is it logical, and pathos, description, in other words, appeal to emotion. You need to have all three of them. And of course I've got, when I teach my critical thinking class at my other school, I go into much more detail than that. But that's just the very beginning. And so when you listen to this way, if you know that something has ethos, pathos, and logos, then you can avoid fake news. You can avoid gossip. You can avoid propaganda, that sort of thing. In other words, you don't believe everything that you read, or everything that you see, or everything that you hear, especially when it's on the internet or social media. Okay, so that's a whole nother class in media literacy that I went totally off the topic, but that was the whole purpose of these notes, was I don't go off topic, and I still went off topic, even with the notes in front of me. Oh well. So that's it for week 4, I think. So week 4 we went over pre-writing, and we started our persuasive essay. So now next week I will go over, or the next few weeks, I will have a weekly wrap up, so that it's not all one big week 1 through 4 wrap up. But it's still good to review what we learn so that you can encapsulate and visualize it in your head and use the information, because it's a lot to digest in such a short period of time. That's what college is all about. It's like stuffing all of this knowledge all at once, and some of it all leaks out. See, so I remember that was what college was like when I went there, when I first started. Anyway, so if you have any questions, okay, let me turn this off. So if you have any questions, you can always email me, and I'll gladly, email you back and give you, because I've actually had students, ask me things like, oh, I'm not sure about my thesis statement, or do these topic sentences really match, and that sort of thing. And so I've actually, helped the students with that. And if you're not sure about your APA, that I haven't done yet, is to give a lecture. So the second half of this class, I will give a different lecture just on APA, because students are so, in your next few classes, especially when you do research methods and English 105, you are going to do a lot of APA. Okay, so I will give you a very brief introduction to APA. And APA means that American Psychological Association. It means that you have to notate and give credit to the researcher. And I will teach you the difference between a direct quote and a paraphrase quote. And if you have any questions, you can always email me. And so have fun in choosing your, this time around, because of current events, it seems that abortion and gun control seem to be the top two choices of everybody's. People are either for, against, for, those two because of current events. I remember during the Parkland shooting, gun control was the major topic, and then during the election of 2016 and 2020, who will be president was a big topic. So, so when you have, in the war in Ukraine, so a lot of times the topics that I get are based around what's going on currently in the world. So right now it's abortion, Roe versus Wade, gun control, and Uvalde. So that's what's going on right now that people are writing about the most. So feel free to email me, and I will now end this video. And that's a share, that's not it. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me.